Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thanks for your patience. We do appreciate. If you're joining us for the first time, special welcome to you. Thank you for coming down online as well as personally into the room. It's good to always see face to face, and thank you for coming down. So my name is Henley Samuel. I'm the president of Gungahlin Community Council, and we do have our team. The executive members are here. Welcome them, and we have a pretty good agenda tonight, which I will run through. Before that, this meeting is being live streamed, so everything is recorded and it's all available on the website. And if you haven't followed us as yet on our Facebook page, please, we welcome you to do so. So our agenda, the talk of the town, it's a petition for the new police station and increased police resources for Gungahlin district. So that's what we're going to talk most of the time today. That's our only agenda for tonight. So we have multiple speakers for tonight. We have Detective Superintendent Mick as well, and then Andrew Braddock, James and Lynn, all the Arabi MLAs. Thank you for coming down. Today we have an apology from Michael Peterson. He couldn't join us. We also invited Susan, but I'm not sure where she is up to. She haven't contacted us back, so we're not sure where she stands with our petition. But I'm glad that, from out of 5, we officially received response from 4 of those people, and they all support this great cause. So just to get the background why we end up doing this petition and what's going around in Gungahlin. So I thought we probably good to hear from the police itself, like what's the status on Gungahlin. It also gives you an opportunity to ask questions about how many people work there. And, we did had this discussion with our last public meeting. I thought probably it might be a good idea to have our Detective Superintendent Mick again to give us a brief on where Gungahlin stands and how it's different from other region in Canberra, and what's the thing that they need now, and those kind of things. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mike to share with us, please.
Just like that? Yeah. Is that correct, Henley? Please forgive me.
Just the other way around.
Other way around?
Yeah. Just
First of all, good evening. My name is Detective Superintendent Mick Kalatzis. I'm privileged to lead what I call North District, which is City, Belconnen and Gungahlin. A bit about me. I joined the police as a teenager. I started off at Belconnen Police Station. I now have a son and a daughter-in-law in the police and a granddaughter. So, and so forth. Yes, I've had facelift and I've had Botox, so, and so forth. So I'm a proud Canberra policeman. I've worked nationally and internationally. But for the last almost 4 years, and I've done this role twice, I've been privileged and I've seen the north side of Canberra grow. To show how far I go back, my sergeant at the time when I was 19, we used to drive out here and he said one day there'll be houses and so forth. I pinch myself that this has actually evolved. Yes, I know north side very well. But more importantly, I'm like you, I'm part of the community. I will be repeating myself from the last meeting. It's just this simple. And I'd like to also introduce Acting Sergeant Toby Coots. Toby's been in Gungahlin for a few years, and he's our current Acting Sergeant as well. Detective Inspector Dave Craft sends his apologies. He's on medical leave, otherwise Dave would have been here as well. Dave, as you know, is a local Canberran, second or third generation police family. Each one of his cousins have actually been inspectors of respectively Belconnen, himself with Gungahlin and City, and him and his uncle were superintendents in the police as well. Proud Canberrans like I am as well. The issue is this simple. We are now currently in Canberra's largest police district. We estimate, unless somebody challenges me, Gungahlin's about 105,000 people. 19 suburbs. Throsby, Moncrief and Taylor yet to be occupied. Kenny is in the future. few more extra suburbs. What makes Gungahlin unique? I think what makes Gungahlin unique is the people of Gungahlin. Probably the most diverse area in Canberra. I myself am a non-English speaking background. I'm Greek Australian. I was born in a special part of Greece called Melbourne as well. And I also speak a few languages as well. But what I have seen is I've seen the place grow. It's a different urban design like anything else. We've got light rail. We do have youth, probably the most youngest community as well. I remember in my first life at North District, there was unrest about the mosque. Now the mosque is convention. It's part of us. It's part of who we are. The diversity of Australia is very, very important. My parents came here as migrants. My biggest heroes, till this day they haven't finished primary school, but have taught me so much. But what's more important, what makes Gungahlin important is that it's 19 suburbs, it's growing. And also we have new refugees who want a new home, who want to feel part of this community. We have new settlers, interstate people, probably more come to Gungahlin for any number of reasons as well. We've had some tragedies at Gungahlin. I'm not going to walk away from it, as you know, near the lake. That was an extremely tragic matter as well. You know, your Gungahlin police, as you know, on the weekend, I came in on Easter Sunday to thank all my police who work at Gungahlin City and Belconnen. But it was your Gungahlin police that turned up first to that terrible, horrific accident in Gia. And may those people rest in peace. And the ACT Fire and Rescue Service as well. So they're people that you need. I'll myth bust. There was a view that policing is all about crime rates. I'm a bit old-fashioned. Sir Robert Peel, the father of policing, said the community of the police and the police of the community. As I've said before, 20% of our work is detection and apprehension. Put simply, that's putting people before court, whether they're children, young people, or so forth. We're the gatekeepers of the criminal justice system. It's not our role to necessarily prosecute. We recommend a prosecution, and we've got to respect that as well. But more importantly, that other 80%, that's us patrolling your streets. That's us engaging, which we want to do. That's us trying to find your daughter when she's missing, recovering your stolen motor vehicle, being involved with the schools, in sport. That's what I grew up on. That's the reason I still love this job as well. That's what we're all about. Yes, we do have terrible infrastructure. We have 46 police and 8 detectives squeezed into a terrible place. Mr. Milliken came out there. But more importantly, please don't think that our police sook. They are men and women who are absolutely proud of what they do. 40% of them live and work and have their children and their families at Gungahlin at the same time. It's expanding. We want to be more visible, but we're not equitable to any other police station anywhere else. Stripping police sources elsewhere, I don't think, is the solution. As the Chief Police Officer said as well, and I'll keep his message, and he's done a terrific job, he keeps on saying, Canberra's probably Australia's largest growing city. Gungahlin's probably Australia's largest, most fastest growing urban area, and to expand as well. I'm a big believer in equity myself. No other person should have any more or any less at the same time. But I'm also going to give you some great news stories. As I said before, a couple of months ago, we had a bunch of juveniles who had basically ransacked a lot of New South Wales, their bakery at Gundaroo and a few other places as well. They came in here. Within 40 minutes, they broke into 17 commercial premises with sledgehammers and so forth. So we recovered 2 stolen motor vehicles, 2 sledgehammers, and it was your Gungahlin police, 1 patrol car, 1 sergeant who detected and apprehended them. We had a Woden patrol come up. So please don't think that City or Belconnen police were idle. They were occupied doing other stuff as well. We also had the detectives from Gungahlin helping us out. Now 2 out of those immediate 6 were apprehended immediately. We then set up a task force, we cleared that up, led by Detective Sergeant Billing, who's now gone to another property crime area as well. And Sergeant Billings is probably testimonial. We just sent him his goodbye. He's been here for 4.5 years. Absolutely loved it being here as well. But he detected and apprehended those young people with a number of people and put them before the courts. Now that's for the Children's Court to manage those issues. But I also look at the victims of that. That's your local shops. That's where your kids play. Most shops have got playgrounds. But I suppose the systematic thing for us is that what we reflected on, that 3 out of those stallholders said, thank you, police. We don't necessarily want you to report anything, we need to trade, which is all the more common aspect for us as well. It's about it that I've got to say. I know that you've got a petition. You have to understand I'm in the Westminster system, just here to talk to you about local policing, and we're here to take questions after that. Hi, Danella.
I'm a local high school teacher. Donella Johnston. I work in a local high school. I'm curious about what most of your call-outs would be. Do you have data about what you roughly how many, when people call you, what are you going out to?
Probably ask Toby. Toby's literally in the front line. So Toby, maybe talk about your shift today, and if you want just a map of crime and that, we do have it on our ICT website. So Toby?
Yeah, sorry, I'll just put my phone away. Oh, just grab that. Oh, right, I don't want to get too close. All right, so we're just in the process at the moment of calibrating how we record data within ACT policing, but the majority is family violence jobs. That may be, range from just a disturbance through to, some of the worst of the worst. Other issues that are rising at the moment are youth crime. That's as Gungahlin expands. That's quite a common occurrence at the moment. Radio. Yeah.
Can I ask you, so family violence, I think that's probably going to be common all throughout Australia, right? Do you have, can you give me a percentage roughly, like 80%, 60%?
No, I can't, to be honest,
Okay.
not offhand. It's definitely not around the 80%. It's down,
that's what
it's
I've
somewhere
heard
around
too.
40, 50%. And we, like I said, we're going to...
40 or 50%, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to start, and we in ACT policing classify family violence as a broad range of things. So anything that involves a family of some sort. So yeah, it does cover quite a fair bit. Yeah.
And you mentioned that youth crime is the other other major call out. So is that right?
Yeah, that's quite it's a thing that we're going to be dealing with forever as we expand, as Gungahlin expands, continues. That's definitely going to rise as well, and Detective Superintendent, what are we up to? Kaletsis was saying, that that ties back to a fair bit with community policing as well, out there patrolling as much as we can,
Awesome.
and being that forefront there.
So do you think some of that youth crime would be related to family abuse and family violence as well?
Yeah, that could be, but I definitely wouldn't have any statistics on.
That's fine. That's
so.
fine. And my other question is, given 50% of your call-outs are family violence or family abuse, I'm wondering what we're doing to address the core, the cause of that. I know your job is policing, but I'm wondering what preparation are you being given as a police officer and a superintendent to prepare you for those call-outs, which I imagine most of those people would be women?
Yeah, we do go through some pretty extensive training right from the start. That was a few years ago now, but yeah, right from the start at Recruit Training School. It is a large focus, and unfortunately it is something that is progressing, and as we rearrange the way that we are recording those statistics, it's definitely coming to the fore more, and I can only foresee that. I'm definitely not in the position to make this, but I think that our training specific to family violence is definitely also going to be increasing as time goes on.
Do you feel well prepared to deal with that?
Yes, I do, but unfortunately, that's policing. We're not prepared for it. You know, everything is a response that we go into.
And one last question. How many women police officers do you have? How many, like you've got 46 staff, how many of those people are women?
You're testing me there. I wouldn't have an exact number, but I would say it'd be pretty close to half.
Yeah.
I think, I'd say very close to.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, I'm just going back to the space issue at the police station. So there's a lot of chit chat on the Facebook, so I'm not really sure what's the right message here, what the right information here. So the police station currently we have is currently insufficient to cater the needs of the current staff there, which also accommodates the emergency services, right? The government has announced the emergency services will be moved out of this particular complex soonish. Even after that, the space will be insufficient, or how does that work?
I'll just go into the origins
Yeah,
and then I'll
thank you.
answer your question. So originally it was a joint emergency services complex from about the late 90s. Gungahlin was smaller. It's about 15 to 20,000 people, if that. You've got to realise the first Gungahlin suburb was about perhaps 89, 90, perhaps Palmerston, and then it grew, Nichols and so forth, then Ngunnawal, then we had a stop and then a boom and a number of histories as well. So it was originally a business hours police station. It was meant to be a shop front. When I got promoted as the officer in charge of Belconnen Police Station in 2003, that was a long time ago, straight after the bushfires, I had 1 sergeant and 8 constables reporting to me, and I had 6 patrol teams. So it was like a little satellite police station. It went 24/7 in the same space in 2008, so we appointed an inspector and officer in charge to make it 24/7. But even then the footprint was about 25. We had 36 police officers until last year. The government funded us an extra 10, so about 46. We reconciled our own police 2.5 years ago. We've got Gungahlin detectives. They don't necessarily come under me, but we're one police force as well. And they do a tremendous job. They're invaluable to us as well, because it's also a learning opportunity for our police if they're not working with detectives and so forth. Regrettably, we've had a lot of what we call drug debts gone wrong in some suburbs in Gungahlin. There's been a lot of violence with those as well. The detectives have been very helpful with us as well, and they're part of the community. Going back to it, it's largely the same footprint that was in 1997, 98, with approximately, if you put 46 and 8 detectives, maybe 50 plus police. It's extremely small. I can't comment about the government's big plans for it as well. That's not in my remit. But for us, I know equitably, my police don't have the same space or services that other police stations do as well.
So even after years, emergency has gone out.
When they do, if they do, I think the plan is...
If they do, would the space be enough or not?
Yes, my understanding is that, but really we'd like it yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like that yesterday. But what I can say is the men and women who work at Gungahlin Police Station, they all get on. You have to get on. It's probably got the best morale. It used to be, it's got an anecdotal name as Fun Garland because it's fun. People have got a sense of humour as well. But it's taxing for them. So when Toby talked about family violence, it gets a bit more complex. Obviously, we have to think about the cultural issues of what we call a family. We have to respect that. We have to understand that. Every day I'm still learning as well, and I ran the Family Violence Command before I ran this role as well. We have to rely on, with a lot of our new settlers, translators from nationalities that aren't as available, so we've got to go through a national service. We have to be understanding, we have to be empathetic at the same time. What you and I might call a family and family violence might be different as well. Many times, it's not only about the detection and apprehension, but we work with other agencies to make sure, in most cases, the victims are safe, their children, and other agencies at the same time. And we have to be empathetic with that as well. Because at the end of the day, family violence isn't bad guy, you're here, you're there. We're breaking up families. And if you don't think that we're not human beings about that, and that doesn't affect us, It's one moment in time, and then those families get together. They do or they don't. We have to make sure that they're safe. There's other investigations, there's orders. I'd like to say it's simple, but it's quite complex. Add on new refugees coming to this country, new settlers, new people from other states and territories. We've got probably the best Victims of Crimes Act in Australia. We've got a Human Rights Act. So we've got to balance all these things up.
Thanks, Mick. We got a question from Facebook. What would you like to see in the new police facility, and when would you like to see this provided?
I think I answered that. We'd like it yesterday, but we're also pragmatic, and we'd like to also have more police. Not only for, and it's also, I'm an officer under the Commonwealth Workplace and Health and Safety Act. I've got to make sure that my police and the Chief Police Officer are safe, are absolutely safe. You know, I had a bit of a break today because I had a long day, but most days I wear a firearm as well. You know, my police need to be safe out in the public. They need to be safe when they go to that family violence matter. Having been in the front line a long time myself, I don't care how highly trained you are, you go to a family violence matter, all police officer will tell you it's the most unpredictable one as well. So it's a safety issue. So police are also for our personal safety. I'm not saying police aren't available, but you know, whether it's road policing or all the other capabilities, they're occupied. And at the same time, we can't be rushing the streets either, because we're also conscious that they're the roads that your children use, that you drive as well. How many times have we done it? Where are those police going? I've been there myself. That was unsafe. The reality is they're backing up their colleagues for something that in many cases are unsafe as well. So it's that very delicate balance.
Cool. I think another question. So because now things been changed in ACT and then they legalised illegal drugs and stuff. So how challenging that going to be for the policing? With you know, with already we have under-resourced in ACT and new problem has been added. So how are you guys going to face that challenge?
Geez, Henley, you're making me earn my money here. I've got to be careful how I answer that. I don't make the laws. The government makes the laws. It will be challenging. Chief Police Officer has just gone to North America. My understanding is he went to Vancouver, San Francisco, and I think Portland. He's gone on the media with that. It's a health issue. What he did see firsthand, and I think he's also gone on the media, there's a big reliance on fentanyl, which is, you know, is a painkiller of some sorts as well. I can't predict the future, but we're certainly getting direction from the government how to manage that as well. And look, having been a policeman for nearly 40 years on and off in the ACT, we've always gone dovetail with the community and worked with the community. There's some, for example, I also lead City Police Station. We have the Territory Targeting Team. We're working with ACT Health with pill testing and so forth. But I know this, is that every time you find this is a prescribed drug and it's unlawful, there'll be somebody else that'll make a prescribed drug that's unlawful. It's a simple case of supply and demand. I can't predict it, but we're asking for some direction as well. And certainly the Chief Police Officer said we're working with the Department of Health, the Health Directorate, to work through this.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mick, for your time, and we really hope our petition gets successful and you get what you needed and all the facilities, because you guys do a great work, and on behalf of the community, I just want to appreciate and thank you for coming down tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just say one thing? We can't do anything in the community without your cooperation. And genuinely, the Gungahlin community is a great community. You know, Sir Robert Peel said the police are the community and the community are the police. I still believe that. And without community support, you know, we have no currency, we have no legitimacy, and each one of the men and women of Gungahlin Police are absolutely proud to be Gungahlin police officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you guys do. Let's give them a one more time big round of applause. All right. Today, as I said, the agenda is focusing mainly on the petition that we are working, and it's in progress. I think the latest thing I checked, we reached almost 600 signatures today, almost. So great work, and thank you for everyone who signed, and thank you for everyone who shared. So it's a great community effort. So we really appreciate. So on part of this petition, we thank for Michael to sponsor this petition, and in also other Arabi MLAs. So we invited all the Arabi MLAs to part of today's meeting, especially to support the cause that were on behalf of the community. We want to make sure that all the Arabi MLAs are standing behind the community and supporting this petition. So I'd like to invite Andrew Braddock to start with. He will give us he will come and do us a little talk about why he support this petition, and also he would share about what he's doing in the Arabi region as well. Thanks, Andrew. Friends member for Yarraby. I'd just like to start off acknowledging the traditional owners of the land. The light is showing up. Yeah.
Hopefully the people from online can hear me a bit better now. So firstly, as the detective superintendent said, in terms of a little bit of history of the Joint Emergency Services Centre, it opened in '94 when it was literally sheep paddocks around the Woolies here, maybe Palmerston and not much else. And the population of that time was about 5,000 people. We're now currently sitting at about 88,000, heading towards about the 100,000 mark once Kenny and Jacker and a few other suburbs are built out. So of course the old facility is no longer fit for purpose, and that's why there needs to be work done to create the space that the services need to be able to deliver what they need for the community. Totally acknowledge in terms of crime rates aren't the end-all be-all, as you mentioned earlier. I just thought it was also useful just to put them up there, because whilst there has been a booming population, and I mean about 23% increase in the Gungahlin population in the last 5 years, these have been the crime rates which have been bouncing around, and also the impacts of COVID are sort of yet to wash out, so we get to a true feel as to what is a normal. But despite a booming population, we are seeing a fairly consistent level of crime rates. Also, in terms of what we're seeing is what those are covering. I totally agree or understand in terms of the impacts of family violence, and that's something I'll talk about a bit later as well. So I'll just go through the petition calls and just talk through a couple of points, provide a bit more information just to flesh out what's already been provided. So the first call is just in terms of providing new office space. Well, not just office space, but in terms of space. This includes rooms to support victims and being able to provide them with dignity and privacy when the police are working with them. This is also to provide extra space to allow them to do their job effectively. So of course, totally support that. Can't unfortunately deliver it yesterday. It is actually 3 phases that they're looking at in terms of the project. First phase is get the emergency services out of there and a rural fire service and get them into a place in the Mitchell. The current time frame for that planned move is mid-2024. So the second phase is then basically refurbish what's the space they've left, so it's suitable for use by the police force, and that's by the end of 2024. So I totally acknowledge that doesn't meet the timeframes that the police would like it or that the petition calls for. Then the final phase is also, what do we do with the ambulance service? The plan is that they will take up residence in another locality within the Gungahlin district. I understand they've already had discussions with the GCC in terms of potential locations. Not yet? Okay. I obviously got misinformed on that one. But that would be then a future project, subject to a future project bid, to then refurbish the rest of the facility after the ambulance has moved out. Second one, increase the numbers. It makes sense in terms of if we've got a 23% in our population, of course we're going to need additional police forces to be able to support that population and do what we need them to do. What I will say though, well actually no, before I jump to that, the government's already on a commitment in this regard in terms of the 23-24 budget to increase the numbers. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I'll find out when everyone else does, when the budget is released come June 24. That is a conversation that's happening right now in Cabinet. So the government's already on a record in terms of increasing the number of officers, but also looking at a number of other aspects. The police are the gateway to the justice system, as you mentioned. There's a lot of other aspects to that justice system as well that we need to be able to provide as services to the Gungahlin community. Help them, assist them with the community safety. One example might be the children's youth space that is going to be planned as part of the multi-purpose community facility on Gungahlin Place. That's a key thing that I've been calling for a long period of time, we need somewhere that where these youth can actually come together, access the services they need, feel more sense of a connection with their community and not being disconnected from it. So that's also an important part of how do we ensure that the Gungahlin community is safe. What I do have a slight issue with is in terms of this comparison of number of officers per number of population. So I'll use an example of, and I know this is an extreme one, but I just utilise it to illustrate the purposes. You take the example of Broken Hill, population 18,000 people, police force of 130 officers. As you can imagine, they absolutely need that many because they're 2 to 3 hours away from backup. They're servicing a huge area. Now that's an example where their number of police officers per population will be just off the charts. Compare that to Gungahlin, population 88,000, 65 I think was somewhere in that vicinity, 60 to 70 police officers in the area. Our proportion is way off the charts on the other side, just reflecting the nature of the command. But I totally get in terms of we need to increase the number of police officers to match up the increases in the population. Develop and commit to a timeframe, of course. I want to see that too. I would like to see how is the police force expanded to grow to be able to meet the needs of the Gungahlin population and all its requirements. Support that, and also ensure there's proper community consultation, which I also support. So, hence, wanted to say all of that. What I just wanted to add to that, and I mentioned it a bit earlier, is this is not just about officers in uniform maintaining a presence in the community as to what actually makes us safe. There is so many other aspects of the justice system and the support services that help keep Gungahlin safe. For example, I'll use the PACER team. This involves where we send one police officer, one ambulance officer, and a mental health clinician out as a team to respond to instances where someone is having a mental health episode or crisis. Police officer keeps everyone safe, great. The ambulance officer is there to assist in terms of any injuries that might be incurred as part of the incident as well. And then you've got the mental health clinician who is actually dealing with the root causes of what is going on in that particular individual at that point in time. Through that sort of combination, they are able to most effectively meet the community's specific requirements there. And so sometimes it's not necessarily a case of more police would deliver exactly what we need. It's making sure we've got the right skills and capabilities that will actually help the community. For example, you were talking, Danella, earlier about family violence. There are absolutely times where it is so unsafe we absolutely need police as the no-fail option to be able to respond to those instances. But there's also a lot of other services we can provide prior to the crisis incidents that will be able to help our community. And so that's what we're looking at as part of the justice reinvestment strategy of ensuring that we can find ways to actually service the needs of the community, to keep them safe. And so that's what I would just like to make a point. That's it. Unless anyone's got any specific questions or things they would like to raise.
Why is your slide called John the Slavery presentation?
because I grabbed a template off Joe Clay the other week and I did not actually change that.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I should have asked the police officers this question, but I'll ask you. I've been a member of this community for over 20 years, and when I first came out to Gungahlin, we had quite an active neighbourhood watch groups, and I was a member of my local, Ngunnawal neighbourhood watch group. Do you know what's happened to neighbourhood watch? It seems to have disappeared. I'm just wondering in terms of our police representatives tonight called on the community, because we're all in this together in terms of keeping our community safe. Do you know what's happened to Neighbourhood Watch? Because in terms of a member of the community, that is one way that I can support the police.
Yep. I can answer from my perspective, and I might invite you to come up to answer that as well.
You're very correct. Probably Gungahllin's probably got the most active neighbourhood watches. You've been involved for decades. They usually meet at the lakeside there as well, and they're probably one of the most well established. And they started off organically, as you know, with the 3 key suburbs, and have continued to grow. So this goes back to our point. We can't do anything alone. We've got to constantly do it with the community.
Yes, they're very much in existence. I can't really compare the activity from now to 20 years ago because I'm struggling to recall, but I can put you in contact with them.
Can I add on that? Yeah, they are in existence, and Crosby the started one. And I can build on it as well. I think this is like a volunteers. That's the problem.
Yeah. And the president of the ACT Neighbourhood Watch lives in the Gungahlin area, so.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No? Thank you.
Sorry, Andrew, I do have some questions. Just on the last few points that you talked about, the other issues, which really matters for Gungahlin anyway, the other things that you covered, because we think it's all starts with the planning, because every time the planning fails, it's like a domino effect that affects everything. Considering you are part of the government now, ACT Greens and Labor are part of the government, so what are you? Are you doing anything? You're working on those things. Those are the criteria that you showed, like 6 items or something. Are you working on any specific things? Because we talked about the health hub at some stage, but we're not sure where it's up to, whether it's coming to Gungahlin. And there was a talk about the Northside police station, not the Northside hospital, and we're not sure that's for Gungahlin. So every time there's a project comes in, it's all been taken out and taken out of Gungahlin. So what are you going to do, and how are you going to proactively engage with the government to bring them to Gungahlin so that we can stabilise Gungahlin with all these basic needs?
Yep. I think I'll start in terms of I've been a very loud proponent in terms of trying to get more employment into Gungahlin. The days of picking up a federal government department and dropping them into a town centre are unfortunately behind us with self-government has come on. But what I've been advocating for is, sorry for disturbing you. So what I've been calling for, though, is alternative employment that we can attract here in the town centre, and not just mixed-use development where we have one floor of coffee shops or vacant shop fronts down the bottom of an apartment tower. We need to look at ways we can get more employment into the area. And so, for example, I've been looking at, there's the precinct plan that's going on at the moment for the Gungahlin Town Centre East area. How do we incorporate employment into that, whether it be a vertical aged care, whether it be the training college that's been planned for Eastern Valley Ave, I think it is, for Gungahlin Place, so that we have the spaces like a youth space that is available for use, where our young people can actually come, access services, not be bored hanging around our shopping centres, but actually feel like they have a purpose in a space where they can gain the support and acceptance they're looking for. I've also been calling for in terms of how do we get the services that we need up here, and part of that has been a problem of just the pure office space for them. But for example, migrant and refugee support services is absolute critical support to help the first wave of migrants who are landing here, establish themselves within the community, ensure with the right supports they don't eventually become an issue that the police force might have to deal with down the track, but actually be able to help them become citizens, active in both an economic, social, community sense, and part of the Gungahlin community. So in terms of trying to attract as many of those types of services to actually set up shop up here in Gungahlin, close to where the people are at.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Andrew, for coming tonight and supporting us with the petition. We appreciate it. Let's give him a big hand for Andrew. Next, I'd like to invite James to come and share a few words with us and also update on what's happening in this space as well. Thanks, James, for coming down to support us.
Thank you, Henry. I'm glad they got rid of that Greens logo above my head here. I think it might have raised a few concerns by saying that, but thank you, Henley, for the opportunity to come along this evening to have a bit of a chat, on some important issues that are affecting this region. And also, I'd just like to thank you for taking the initiative to get this petition going. I think you've been your fingers on the pulse. You've certainly been listening to people in the community, because this is something that the community so desperately needs. I'd also like to thank Detective Superintendent Mick and also Acting Sergeant Toby for all your work that you do for the community and all your fellow officers. You work hard to keep our community safe and secure, and really appreciate everything that you do. Along with your other fellow colleagues of other departments in the Joint Emergency Service Centre, they also do a fantastic job for our community. And obviously we're here today to talk about the petition that's currently in place at the moment. My fellow colleague, Mr. Hanson, he has brought 2 motions to the Assembly this term so far. One of them was calling for extra police for the ACT, and the second one was calling for an inquiry, for a committee to inquire in on police numbers and resourcing in the ACT. And unfortunately, Labor and the Greens voted against both those motions. So I find it a little bit ironic here to be standing here today and seeing this petition and having one of the Labor members sponsoring that petition. I mean, why didn't he speak to the motions Mr. Hanson brought? Why didn't they support those 2 motions? I think it speaks volumes and where their priorities are. Now, the Joint Emergency Service Centre, it's packed at the moment with the ambulance, RFS, SES, AFP and also Urban Fire Services are in that building. And like it was built in the 1990s, so it's an ageing facility, and it is packed to the rafters in there. If we look at the ACT, and I know Mr. Braddock mentioned about police per capita, I think it really is important. We have over 100,000 residents here in Yerrabee, and on average we have 205 police officers servicing 100,000 people. We certainly don't have 205 police officers at the Gungahlin Joint Emergency Service, do we? And on average it's 280 police officers per 100,000 residents around the country. So police numbers are down here in the Territory. You look at the resourcing as well. You've got to ensure that those people that are keeping our community safe have a fit-for-purpose facility here in Gungahlin particularly. They currently don't have that, and they struggle. You've got a sergeant with a whole bunch of officers helping them. I hear from time to time officers being brought from other areas of the ACT to Gungahlin just to help fill those gaps. So they're leaving another precinct, another area where they're desperately needed, and move to Gungahlin because we simply don't have enough police. This is something that the community's been crying out for so long, is to ensure that we've got police on the beat. It was mentioned earlier that there were 17 businesses broken into in Nichols, Casey, Gold Creek and Palmerston. 17. Could you imagine if we actually had more than one police vehicle out? There could have been an actual potential deterrent, because these criminals, these alleged criminals, may have seen a police officer in a police vehicle drive past and gone, well, we can't do it, let's evacuate. But when we only have one vehicle out at a time, the police presence just isn't there. I also hear a lot about police officers doing it tough. The stress that they're under, the stress for their families, the stress that it adds there. I've heard that there's been an increase in sick leave taken. We need to support our police officers that are out there supporting us. And if we had the right number of police, I think that that would help alleviate that stress. Now, I fully support this petition, and I really encourage everyone to sign this petition, to get behind it. Because we, unfortunately, are in opposition, and Mr Hanson has brought forward 2 motions calling on more police numbers and also resourcing, and it was voted down by the Labor Greens government. We are using every avenue we've got possible to raise this. Now it has a petition, which is really good. It has over 500 signatures, so it will be automatically referred to a committee. And then it's up to the committee to consider whether or not they support that petition and whether they do an inquiry. And let's hope that they take this seriously, look at the number of signatures and actually conduct an inquiry. Moving quickly then over to the electorate, just in terms of some local matters I've been working on. I just recently held a hot chocolate in Nichols. I try and do one every month to reach out to local residents to give them an opportunity to come along and speak to me. Issues in Nichols mainly are around maintenance, local parks, lighting, and of course cost of housing was an issue. My next hot chocolate, 29th of April, is in Ford, so hopefully we get a few people along to that, and we'll continue to do these as we have done in the past, once a month at a different suburb. Crace, just recently, some local residents got in touch with myself. There's a doctor's clinic that's just on the entry into Crace. Outside of that clinic is nature reserve, or not really nature reserve, just common government land area, and it's not currently on the government's mowing schedule. So I've written to the government to get them to assess their mowing schedule, to get them to assess the area in Crace in question to include on their mowing schedule, because it's currently not on their mowing schedule. And it does create a bit of a risk for local residents, particularly if there's a fire or something that comes through. It's close to the reserve just across the road from Crace. I think that this could quite easily be included on the mowing schedule. Also Hall. I represented an issue there last year in relation to their laneways in Hall. Of course, Hall has a heritage listing around it, and those laneways are heritage listed, so they've remained as gravel. But the geographical location of Hall being on a hill and a bit of a slope, when it rains, those laneways are washed away, and then it also impacts neighbouring residents and their properties. And so I called on the government to do a hydrology assessment. That is currently underway, which is really good. It was quite successful that the government agreed to do that. So hopefully we see a result of that within the next few months. So hopefully we get to deal with that issue that a lot of local residents in Hall are facing. So that's pretty much what I was hoping to cover for this evening, but certainly happy to take any questions. No?
Thank you.
No doubt you've got a question.
Thanks, James, for coming down. Just on the mowing thing, because...
The mowing? Yep.
Yeah, so because the weather was pretty crazy as well, we all understand that, but most of the times, I think the community, from reading various posts on the social media, it's like community's fear of the snakes and all those things because of those unattended, the lawns and stuff. So what's the, do you think that, are we getting enough support from the government on those ones? Like, are they, how regularly they do it?
Well, I was just in Gungahlin about a month ago. Amazing. It's actually amazing in Gungahlin. It's well maintained, well kept, and nature strips are mown. Everything around the verges, street lights, footpaths, it's all whippersnipped. It looks fantastic. And they do a great job in Gungahlin. I think that we in the ACT, I think the government isn't doing a good job on urban maintenance. I think that, they think local city council matters is beneath them. I think, lawns, mowing, streetlights, footpaths, I think that they generally think that this is beneath them and they only focus on the major portfolio areas. I think there needs to be more attention given to urban maintenance. I think that we need to look at bringing on more mowers, bringing on people with whippersnippers. How often do you see a guy out there, or a lady or a gentleman, out there with a whippersnipper cleaning up after a mower? You don't see it. It's all good to see, cut grass, but when you see the street light or the footpath and there's just weeds growing everywhere, it just looks untidy. I think by bringing on more people, get them around there with a whippersnipper, do a bit of tidying up. Some local residents at Ruby raised a concern with me. That area outside Ruby Apartments hasn't been mown in years, hasn't been maintained. And they've said that they've seen some snakes in that area. Now that's concerning. That's in the Gungahlin town centre. We have long grasses that isn't maintained or mowed, and local residents have seen a snake in that area. So I wrote to the government and yet to hear back from them. But I think they need to make this more of a priority, to be honest.
Excellent. Thanks, James. Yeah.
So you said, sorry, I am aware of Jeremy Hansen's motion, but not exactly.
Oh, yes, yeah.
But the national average is 280, right?
Yep.
Per 100,000 people.
Yep.
So if now that 2024 election is not very far, so if you guys come to power, would you match that?
Well, Jeremy Hansen is the minister responsible for ACT policing. I do have emergency services, which is everything else apart from ACT policing. I know Jeremy has a really good relationship and has been talking a lot with the AFP and with the AFPA on the issues that are affecting them. He has brought forward some ideas to our party room. We've discussed them. He is certainly working on ideas going forward, and no doubt will be coming out in due course with our overarching policy, along with the supporting initiatives to achieve what that policy is.
One more question, James. I'm not sure whether you can answer this, but maybe the police can help you. My understanding, the Gungahlin is a separate command area, and then if police used to be drawn from Dixon due to the command area being very large. And do the Gungahlin police look after the whole?
I think that's up to the detective superintendent.
Largely it's the original 19 suburbs, so that is Gungahlin. But in saying that, please don't think that Gungahlin police are constrained. It's not unusual for Gungahlin police to go to Belconnen, to city police coming back up here, the local detectives, road policing, our family violence team, the PACER team, which was mentioned before as well. We don't have a police station in Dixon, but we do have one in City as well. So like I said, when we talked about those 17 premises being broken into, this just shows how agile we are, that the sergeant and his offsider from Woden came up. And this goes back to the point. It's that, what I call, that liquid mercury stuff. Who's looking after Woden? We constantly risk assessing, but Gungahlin got more pressure on it than any other police district. And we do say it's the largest police district and growing. So to call something a statistic, I've got a view about statistics. When I saw that graph, and I'll just give you my technician's eye, what you forget is there's a victim at the end of that. That's your house. I've had my house broken into. And it's still, even as a policeman, I feel uncomfortable. I'm sure it does that. When my daughter was a rampant teenager, she went missing. And so she's a grown woman now, she's a teacher, but this is my point. There's a human element to this. If we forget about the human element of policing and what we're meant to do, I often tell our people, we have codes. So we have a code for, it's a 304, it's a burglary and so forth. I always say to them this, it's not a 304 in Franklin. It's Beryl Smith's house in Franklin. That's your house. That's been broken into. That's your car. Have empathy. Put yourself in that victim's mentality. And what would you want? So it is a bedside manner, as doctors would say, but we like to think that we do that as well. So that's a very important aspect as well. The feeling of safety, I know it can be speculative, but it's also very, very important.
Thanks, Mix. Thanks, James, for coming down and supporting us on the petition. Let's give James a big hand.
Thank you.
Last but not least, I would like to welcome Leanne Castley, our Arabi, one of the Arabi MLAs as well, to speak about our petition, in support of our petition, and also share on the things that you're working on. Thanks, Leanne.
Thanks, Henley, and thanks again for having us. It's great. The Gungahlin Community Council has always been wonderful with inviting us all along to bore you with our stories and politics and whatnot. So thank you. I'm going to start with the local things that we're dealing with. And as James talked about the grasses and the snakes, I had a gentleman email me from Crace, and he had complained about the grass near his home, and it used to get mowed all of the time, and it dropped off the mowing schedule. And he emailed and said there's snakes everywhere, we're worried about our kids, all that sort of stuff. And then about a month later, I got a nice video from him. Snake had come into his kitchen, into the house, called the snake handler. They removed the snake, which was awesome. And I did exactly what James does. We email and send letters to the ministers all the time, and wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden the lawn got mowed, and I don't know whether it's back on the schedule, but these are real things that go on that people are quite concerned about, and we hear about this all of the time. And I think the next biggest issue that I hear about in my office is crime. People are very concerned, and so as James was saying, we're working really hard with Jeremy to understand Canberra wide, but what is going on in Gungahlin. So 100% supporting this petition, and I will echo everything we've all said. Please sign the petition. You at home, make sure you get on there and do that, because we need as many signatures as we can. It is up to the committee to decide whether they do that inquiry, and you know, the more numbers, the stronger that argument will be. Other local things that I've been dealing with are the foreshore end of Yerraby Pond. You know what I mean when I say that, down where Italian restaurants, Sparzos, all of that is down there. We've had a few residents just taking it upon their own bat to do the maintenance that should be being done. So the lawn is never mowed near, there's like a shelter and a little bit of a table and chairs. They're picking up rubbish. One gentleman offered to do the tree lopping. He was an arborist, a gardener, and so I sorted him out with a bit of Roundup, and he's helping out the residents try and maintain that area. So we've asked the Minister questions about that, when those pavers will be repaired and fixed, because they're quite uneven. And also the algae. I don't know whether anyone's walked around Yerraby Pond recently, but the last time I was there, it was about 2 weeks ago. The reeds were so bad. Now I believe the birds pull them out from the roots, and the birds are now just walking on top of them. Like they're not even wading around anymore, and the algae is growing around there as well. So I've had a number of people email me about this. So we've asked the Minister, and as soon as I get an update, we'll let anybody know. If you need information on this, please follow my Facebook page. Local issues, I think that's about it. Just again, you know, there is a gentleman, I live in Ngunnawal, and there's a guy that regularly just mows Mirabai Drive. He's the one, he's a retired gentleman, and he just takes it upon his own back to do that, to keep it safe. And so, you know, Gungahlin is an amazing community, and we just love this place and work hard for it. Now there's so many other things that are all just escaping my mind right now, but other than Yerraby issues, I'm also Shadow Health Minister, and I just did a count today, because another thing that I hear, I do a mobile office every Friday, and it could be anywhere, so watch the Facebook page, either at Gungahlin or KC, Amaru, where there's a lot of traffic. And what I hear from people is, we don't ever hear from you, where are you, what do you do? You know, so that was my commitment when I got elected, was to be in the electorate mobile office once a week, not just at campaigning time. And the question I get is, where do we hear from you? How do we know what you're up to? And people don't really want to give their email addresses. So I would say every Thursday morning after the 7:30 news, I have a spot on 2CC with Stephen Senatiempo, and he also invites Jonathan Davis, the Greens member, along, and because I'm also Shadow Business Minister. So we always have a bit of a local chat then. So if you're interested, tune into that. But what I did today, and if anyone's interested, and I can share this with people listening at home, was just printed off every media release that I have put out this year, and it covers business, Yarrabee, but mainly health. So I just want to give you a snapshot on what's happening in health at the moment. For those of you who don't listen or read the Canberra Times, we've had a massive data breach in health data, and it's quite terrible. Entire patient records have been shared with the Nurses Union. That has taken a lot of our time and energy trying to understand what happened, how this happened, and what the outcome will be. So we're still working on that one. That took a lot of our last 2 sitting weeks. We have a fetal medicine unit in the Canberra Hospital. This is for women, pregnant women who have issues during pregnancy, and unfortunately this unit has lost its training accreditation, and that means that junior doctors are having to leave the ACT and get that training accreditation done elsewhere. And we believe the staffing levels are so low that it's difficult to recruit. So that's one area that's in quite serious pain at the moment, and we're continuing to follow up with the Minister on that. The Minister did say that they're doing the best that they can. Didn't really appreciate hearing us ask for urgent action. Health records shared. Now, we found out that the government has decided to spend $800,000 on rebranding the Canberra Health Services. And our concern was at that time we were finding that so many people were overdue, 6,000 people were overdue to have a colonoscopy or an endoscopy. And I asked the Minister if they thought that was an appropriate spend of taxpayers' money, and of course they did think that was quite appropriate. We're also facing the worst ED wait times and elective surgery wait times. And unfortunately the numbers, we can't get them the accurate numbers at the moment because of the new digital health record. It's difficult to get the current numbers, and we don't know when we're going to get those for some of these things. So these are the questions, these are the things we're working on. I'm not going to bore you with all of them. I think the one that's upset me the most with every one of these motions that I bring to the Assembly, I always have my Yarrabee hat on, because first and foremost, that's what I've been elected to do, is represent the people here. And the one that has struck me the most was the gynecological cancer unit. Every other jurisdiction in the country has a unit set up specifically for women with gynecological cancer. Now, we don't have that. We've had a couple of surgeons travelling from Sydney to do a clinic a couple of times a month. And what happened was at the end of last year, one of those gentlemen retired. So for 2 years before that, he was lobbying the Minister and the government to say, this clinic is going to have to close. I'm going. And another surgeon came in and said, look, I'll come up to Canberra, I'll set up this unit. And unfortunately, when the contract was about to be signed, it was just untenable. They were only offering the surgeon 2 surgery sessions a month, when we know that the demand is much greater. And unfortunately, when I asked the Minister in the Assembly, we put a motion forward and said, there is a surgeon, he's willing to work here permanently and full-time. Please just make the paperwork happen. Give him a little more surgery time, because he couldn't work elsewhere. They were had hamstrung him a little. The Minister said, no, we're doing everything that we can. And so there is one surgeon now coming to Canberra to do a clinic, same thing. And Canberra is still the only jurisdiction without a gynecological cancer unit. So if my beautiful daughter, who's here tonight, or myself, heaven forbid none of us in this room, end up with a situation where we do need surgery, we're travelling to Sydney. If you're a mum with kids, single mum, working mum, uni student, all of those things, you have to travel to Sydney for surgery, and I just don't think that's good enough. So it's things like this that we're fighting for every day. But as I say, tonight we are here about police, and when I joined the Liberal Party, it was in 2015, so I'm really quite new to politics. I've always been in business, and then I think the police minister, as Shadow Minister, used to tell me, Leanne, we have less police now than we did 10 years ago. And I think we're in that same situation still, all of these years down the track. And that was one of the things that used to stick in my mind, and understanding the impact that it does have out here in Gungahlin and to businesses. It's not just a call out to a 303 or whatever it was. Business is people. It's not a thing. And we know that it is difficult here, and in Gungahlin we're fighting for, for working situation, more workers, all of that stuff. But anyway, I could go on forever to talk about business, because that's where I came from. I have been in small business all of my working life. My partner's got his own small business, and it's who we are. But one last shout out. This Saturday, a local brewery is opening up. It's called Cypher. They're having their opening day, so get out there and support local business, and also the Gribble Street businesses. I know that they're really struggling with parking. That's another thing that we get lobbied about often. So that's it.
Thank you. Do anyone have any questions?
Nope.
Just
Fantastic.
quick one, Leanne, because you said you are doing the Shadow Ministry for the Health.
Yes.
Do you have any update on the health hub for Gungahlin?
North side. Is that? Yeah. Well,
So they talked about the health hub for Gungahlin specifically.
health hub for
Yeah.
Gungahlin.
Yeah.
When was
So I think maybe last year.
that? Okay. I know they're wanting to expand the nurse-led walk-in centres, and then there is a lot of talk about the new Northside Hospital.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that earlier. We have recently, today I read it, we got an FOI, because that's how we have to get most of our information, on where we're at with the Northside Hospital, because we still don't know where that's going to be. It was an election commitment from the Labor Greens government, and I suspect they'll announce something next election year, but we still don't know where that's going to be. And I have no update. I've not heard any talk about the health hub, other than the promise to expand the nurse-led walk-in centres and this Northside Hospital. So there's no doubt Canberra will need expanded services. We know that the Canberra Hospital was promised in 2012, and it should have been built in 2021, and it would have been too small for the size of Canberra back then. So this hospital upgrade won't open till 2024, and it will still be too small for Canberra as it stands now. So I'm disappointed to hear that we're not going to be hearing about the Northside Hospital until next year. It was promised 4 years ago, so I can't. I'll let you know as soon as I know.
So you reckon it's going to be like an election commitment announcement coming soon?
Well, it was last election. Okay. They announced it last year, so that I would expect they will announce something soon.
Yeah. If Liberal are going to win the next election, would you be able to bring that hospital to Gungahlin?
Oh, that's a tough question, and that's why we're doing these FOIs, because the government have all of that information on where the hospital should be, how big the land needs to be, and all of that sort of stuff. So we're seeking that information as well. And as James said, we're talking about our policies and bringing things to our party room, and yeah, you guys will be the first to know when we come up with our plan.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Leanne, for coming down and supporting our petition. I do probably at the end we'll take some. I got some brochures to say that we support the petition and stuff. So I was hoping that Andrew. Looks like Andrew has gone, but I'll kindly ask the rest of the MLAs to stay a bit so that we can take those pictures in supporting the petition. But other than that, we have come to the end of the sessions. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you haven't signed the petition, please do sign the petition. If you haven't shared with your friends, please do share with them. They don't necessarily need to live in Gungahlin. They can be anywhere in Canberra, because this petition is not just for Gungahlin. We are also addressing the policing resource increase throughout ACT. So it doesn't matter where you are located. I think it's a best idea to sign this petition. And thanks once again for everyone for coming down, especially for our speakers tonight. Thanks Mick, thanks Leanne, thanks James, thanks Andrew for coming down. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining us tonight as well. Thank you. God bless. Good night.